Okay, so it's the end of season one, and it's time to fight these otherworld bosses. And today we're going to start with Auster, who I've deemed the fire boss because he's weak against fire. So let's get it done. All right, so we have the team here, and don't be scared all about the legendaries. For the most part, their roles can be spread throughout the team and swapped in and out with other epics and such. But I will break down the roles of each champion real quick so you get a general idea of what to bring in. We have Crisis in here first. He is mainly our tank, as well as just bringing a little bit of sustain to the team. So if you're going to try a different tank, then you might want to make sure that, there's some roll compression in there. Crisis does bring decreased attack. He is also actually our main decreased attack, but again, you could bring someone else in for that as well. Other than that, I just wanted to make sure I cranked him up with high HP because he's also our HP tank. I will show you what that's about here shortly. Next, we have Jorn. Jorn is probably the hardest champion in here to replace, just because his kit brings so much. But the main thing he's in here for is ultimate energy reduction. I bring him in here so that way I can reduce a little bit of the turn meter, or I call it turn meter. I'm from Raid, or their ultimate energy bar. So that way the boss's 18-second rotation will become longer. 25% of a 6-second segment is a second and a half. So that brings his 18-second rotation to a 19.5 rotation. That's his main thing that he's in here for. But he does so much. He also is a backup decrease attack champion, as well as his passive and stuff works to speed up the ultimate gauge of the allies that are around him, so he helps speed up my my other casters' turn meter. I always want to call it turn meter, ultimate gauge. Next up, we have Erich, a little free-to-play friendly viability here, and he's mainly in here just as part of my damage combo. I run 2 wild champions for my damage. Erich is a great wild champion, but on top of that, he has a multi-hit ultimate, so I make him my Witch's Remains or Unclean Crown. More or less, he's my defense down champion. With his 5-hit ultimate, he can't miss. Then we have Tonalyn in here. Tonalyn is in here purely for straight DPS. He fills no other roles, so here's kind of a slot where if you wanted to bring in someone else in that maybe also does decreased attack or something, you might be able to slot him in here. But Tonalyn's a massive damage dealer, so keep that in mind whenever you're hitting your damage numbers. But yeah, he's just in here for that. And then we have the MVP of the team, Vikuk. Love this guy. Been using him. I pulled him early on in season 1, and I've been using him ever since at level 90, 5-star 90. I've never felt inclined to raise him higher than that. His kit really isn't stat intensive. So it's really easy to get him, really tanky or, really fast or whatever I feel needed for the team. But the main thing he's in here for is to just is for actually the main strategy of the team or of the boss is just to cleanse the debuffs that the boss applies. The boss has a really tricky kit involving frost and turn meter manipulate or ultimate meter manipulation and things like that. So and we're actually about to get into that now. So let's go over and look over at the boss's skills. Oh, we actually go back in there. We see the boss's skills. He's got a skill 1, skill 2, and a skill 3. The skill 3 is his ultimate. And this is where the HP tank comes in. So on his skill 1 and skill 2, single target, which would be your tank, whoever's in the front and center for your team. Again, could be a Dolphus or just a shielder, sustainer, tank, whatever. But single target fires 3 arrows at the enemy, each dealing cold damage with a respective 50% chance of ignoring 100% of their defense. So what that means is your tank's defense, at some point in time, he's going to be getting that increased damage, that permanent increased damage buff that the bosses get, and your defense just ain't going to be able to save you. So you build an HP tank. You stack plenty of HP on your front line, so that way, if this does proc the 50% chance and ignores 100% of your tank's defense, your tank has plenty of HP to absorb that and stay alive as long as possible. I'd also suggest timing your shield to cover at least one of these. I have my shields popping off right before skill 2, so that way the shield will be up before for the skill 2 for this, and also for the ultimate. But that's mainly just to cover my backline. You'll see I've got the targeting set up a very specific way. So that's the boss's skills, but really we're missing something. You see his ultimate, diamond shape AoE, so placement will matter. We'll get into that. With a 100% chance of inflicting frost for 10 seconds. Then there's tracking arrows that are attached to this skill that will fire at all enemies within range and deal higher damage. So the ultimate can really smack if your enemy, if you're his enemy, your team has frost on. So we want to get rid of that frost. That's what Vikuk's in here for. So if we look at the timing, like I said, I have the shields popping off right before skill 2. That's each skill 1, skill 2, and skill 3 is 6 seconds apart. I have it popping off at 11 on a 19.5 second rotation. Like I discussed with Jorn, his ultimate will reduce turn meter, which turns at 18 into a 19.5. The timing on this boss is a little weird. I feel like they might have also adjusted it. So you might want to watch to make sure things are popping off at the right times for the first few times. And we got Jorn in here popping off right with him right before the skill 2. So that way I get that 1.5 turn meter reduction. Yes, I'm going to keep calling it turn meter. Sue me. And we've got him set up at a 19.5. You can't let him go because he'll just start doing his skill every 18 and it'll just throw things off. Maybe you won't get a full 2.5 for a reduction, because if he was to pop it off right here, right after a skill, it only goes back to the start of, or the end of the previous skill. So you have to, anytime you're doing turn meter reduction, you have to really keep that in mind. So I've got him timed out. And then we have Erich and Tonalyn. I purely only have them timed out with the 20-second timer to keep everything on the up and up, because Tonalyn has a little bit of skill haste, so his complete recharge time is shorter, and I don't want him to lap Erich. Erich is my decreased defense champion, so I want to make sure he applies the decreased defense before Tonalyn comes in here and releases their ultimate. Then we have the MVP here, Vikuk. I have his popping off at 21 seconds, which, including the 1.5 from Jorn that we gain, is right after the animation of the boss. He applies the frost. Vikuk comes in here and removes it. You have to be very careful because the boss cannot get a basic attack off after his ultimate without cleansing that frost. If you do, turn meter's immediately jacked up, everything's out, all the timings are out the window, and to be honest, you're probably just going to slowly decline after that and your run will be over. So keep this in mind. This is a good guideline for you if you're using turn meter reduction, or maybe you just build a bunch of skill haste and use the incense burner artifact and things like that to get all your timing down and get it all under 18 seconds. But essentially, this is how I have mine broke down. Now, let's go ahead and go look at the run. Let's go ahead and jump into the run, and I'll show you kind of how everything works, and then we will look at the boss or the builds at the end. All right, so we're going to start the run. Getting into it, as we get in between skill 1 and skill 2, you will see that Crisis and Jorn will pop off their ultimate. Crisis laying down his shields right here. Jorn going for the turn meter reduction. Boom, as soon as it hits, we get a little bit of turn meter reduction, and that will set up our turn for the 19.5 second rotation. Then we'll get down here. The boss will do his ultimate. Vikuk will immediately cleanse, and that will keep us on the up and up. He won't be getting any extra turn meter. We won't have stray tracking arrows, wandering off any. And that's why we grouped it. That's why we kind of grouped it and timed it like this. So that way both groups get hit, or well, rather Crisis gets hit with the skill 2 on the ignore defense. And then they'll still have their shield for the ultimate, where Vikuk will cleanse and keep it rolling. And you see this just kind of roll just like this. Crisis will lay down a shield. Jorn will come in and turn meter reduce. And then the damage dealers will do their damage, and then Vikuk's in here just for this skill right here, where he'll cleanse it, keep everybody rolling. Now, my bad, I should have opened up the damage thing. As you can tell, Tonalyn does amazing damage. If you find yourself with the ability to get the $1 epic select chest, if you happen to have Garius or Furbath or one of the crazy big Carius tanks, then I would suggest keeping Tonalyn on a potential list, especially if you're free to play, because you get Erich for free from the campaign, and those two pair insanely together. Now, we're not going to sit here and watch the whole battle. As you can tell, I am 4 or 5 rotations in. We are already at 11 million. Thank you, Tonalyn and Erich. They do amazing damage. But we're gonna go ahead and skip to towards the end, and we'll come in last couple rotations and just kind of check on everybody to make sure timing's off. Actually, I can already tell Jorn's timing's off, but to be honest, as long as Vikuk is still cleansing before he gets a basic attack in, then we're still good. But anyways, we're gonna jump to the end, see what the result looks like. All right, we're starting to get people to die. Crisis just went down, but that was mainly because Jorn had missed a turn meter reduction, and so instead of everyone going before skill 2, they started doing their stuff after skill 2. Ended up being okay because it didn't mess up the timing on Vikuk any. He was still able to cleanse after the boss's ultimate, but as you can see, we are well over the 22 million. So on a perfect run, we probably could squeeze out another 3, 4, 5 million. But as is, you see they did just fine. We can go ahead and look at the stacks. Tonelin, Erich leading the team with the damage. Them two combined cover almost 80% of the damage. As you can tell, Crisis, he took quite a bit of damage. That's almost all pure. That's purely all from the skill 1 and skill 2. So as you can see, you're going to need a lot of HP, and as well as healing. Healing becomes very helpful. Crisis does heal when his shield drops off on him or whatever, so like all that healing is really just mainly healing him. So you're gonna keep that in mind when you're planning for your tank, how much healing he's gonna need. All right, now let's go ahead and hop on over to the champion builds, and we'll take a look at everybody. All right, we're starting off here with Crisis. Again, he is our HP tank, so as you can tell, I stacked up as much HP as I could on him while maintaining a halfway decent defense, so that way he wouldn't take a lot of damage from the basic attacks, and even less damage if it doesn't ignore defense. So the real threat is the chance that the ignore defense procs off if that happens. So really, you just want to lean heavily into HP. Take a look at his gear. I got an HP main stat on his chest and his glove, really pumping that HP. I did not opt for the 3-piece of the Ancestral Protection because I don't want him taking additional damage from the back line, because towards the end of the fight that could kill him early and cost you quite a bit of damage on your total. As far as substats, just HP and defense, nothing too difficult. I did go ahead and go with the banner. I probably didn't need the defense. I probably could have win HP, but I really didn't want him to be taking a whole lot of damage during the times that the ignore defense didn't proc. So you do want to keep him a little defense heavy, but mainly lay into that HP. I do want his decreased attack, so go accuracy on him. If your tank isn't your decreased attack, probably not need any accuracy. Pump up that defense and HP as much as possible. Defense on the other rune as well. And other than that, you pretty much, he's just in there to tank. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and look at Erich while we're up here. He is my Witch's Remains Unclean Crown defense down champion. So you're going to, of course, want to build accuracy on him. For someone who has 5 hits, you don't exactly need to hit the required or suggested accuracy levels. I could probably go as low as 240, and he would still land it on every one of his ultimates. Multi-hit ultimates is the way to go for decreased defense champions. I don't think that that's out there in the community yet, but we need to let as many people know as possible. You always need a multi-hit champion on your team for your decreased defense. Moving on, other than that, we pretty much have him damage built. Assuming that your champions don't already have Frost when the boss goes for his ultimate, he doesn't do really a whole lot of damage. As you can tell, I do have around 2,000 defense, which is pretty high for a DPS. He's not just a glass cannon. But I would say moderate for the in-game levels of maxing out the damage. About 2,000 on all your champions plus. His HP kind of negligible, as you can tell at the end, even with the messed up timing and not having shields at the right times and stuff. Pretty much your team can stay alive as long as your tank don't go down. When your tank goes down, the rest of it's gone. We do got him in crit rate gloves. I do want to soak out, or squeeze out as much damage as possible. Crit rate, accuracy, attack for the rest of it. We do have an accuracy negative rune. You're going to need that for your decreased defense. It does require accuracy to land that, although not as much as you would think. And this is where a little bit of the defense, crit rate, and attack's coming from. A defense rune with attack and crit rate, these are really good runes for your damage dealers in most in-game content. Most in-game content, you're not going to be able to take 1 or 2 hits if you build them glass cannon. So hit that about 2,000 defense level and include some increased defense or shields or some kind of sustaining the rest of your team. It'd do wonders. All right, now we're going to go to one of my favorite champions. This is Jorn. Jorn is a speed monster. That's what he is. But in this team, he is more here to help everyone else meet the proper amount of speeds by increasing the turn meter with his skill 2. The skill 2 is a flamethrower, but it has a chance to backfire and do fire damage on him. When that happens, he has a very small chance of increasing the ultimate energy and giving defense up to the surrounding allies. Really good, man, especially when you can let your champions run free with very limited timing. He'll increase your damage quite a bit. As far as his build goes, I do have him in 3-piece 3 ears for that increased attack buff, that 15% increased attack buff. As far as his stats, I again just pretty much went damage built with a moderate amount of defense. I'm even a little low on the defense with him, 1600. But as you've seen, they survive just as well. Have that decreased attack, little shield or something, because even though he's a legendary, Crisis shields ain't the best. Adolphus shields are the best. But I got him attack built with crit damage gloves, attack rune, and an accuracy rune. I did put the incense burner on him for a little additional accuracy. I don't really need the 10% ultimate, but it does help with timing in case whatever happens, he'll have it. Other than that, just kind of damage build him out. 43,000 HP, 1600 defense, solid attack. Probably could have used a little more crit right there, and really good accuracy. As you can tell, if he misses 1 turn meter reduction, it kind of messes up the timing of everything, and it could cost you your run. Luckily, my team's built insanely. I never, even if he does mess up, I never worry about it. But that's the base. That's kind of the base level for his. You really want to make sure he lands that turn meter reduction, or if you're using another champion to help you with turn meter reduction, you really want to make sure that they land that. Next champion's Tonalyn. Tonalyn, straight glass cannon build. I probably could have done with putting him with the eyeball for increased damage, but his crit damage was a little low, so I went ahead and put him on there. Actually, it looks like his build is unfinished. I got him in a 4-piece for no reason. Platinum Knight set for the increased 30% damage bonus off of his ultimate, but he's pretty glass cannon built. 1300 defense, 44,000 HP. But solid defense, little under on crit rate, don't tell nobody. 224. Again, not the absolute best build, but very solid. As far as his runes, crit damage and attack, again, just bumping up that damage as much as possible. All right, now moving on, we have the MVP. Can't forget about him. Where are you at, Vikuk? Oh, yeah, he's level 90. He's down here a bit. Vikuk, very simple and easy build. Again, you just need him under the 18 seconds. Or if you're not using tournament reduction, or 19.5 in my case. That's all I really had to get for him. The rest of his build, I got him in 3-piece 3 ears just to keep that increase, that 15% increase attack buff up. I usually like having at least 2 of these on. 100% uptime on that thing is very nicely. As far as stats go, defense, HP, if you want, throw a little accuracy in there. He has a backup decrease attack, but to be honest, it just depends on if you need it. I wouldn't say this team even needs it, but it's in there. I haven't brought him up above level 90 because his hit isn't stat intensive. It just, whatever you can kind of throw on him. More defense. I do have an accuracy rune. I did use the Platinum Knight shield to really make sure that my back line didn't take, you know, egregious hits off that ultimate towards the end. But I think that is about it. I don't believe that there's any other special little technique or strategy that I used in their builds. Busted out the strategy for the boss pretty well. I would say I could show. Let's see if there is a boss around. I have a secondary team here. I actually, my account is very fire poison heavy, so I was able to actually build a second team. I'll go in here and just show you what the team looks like. It's only an 11 mil team, but that's mainly because of the champions that I had available left over. But, you know, kind of show you both ends of it. Auster 2 here. All right, as you can tell, we have Horus for our tank. Horus is a little weird. I ended up having to resist build him just because he seemed to have a negative reaction to the shielding situation and the debuff immunity situation that I have going on. I'll explain that in a minute. But I did end up having to resist build him. Of course, this isn't a complete build. Here, we'll go ahead and boom, there we go. Now we'll look at his build. Resist, guarantee you this is resist chest, and really, you know, stack up that defense and HP mainly, as you can tell. Over 100,000 HP as well. That's really the main focus there. But that's your HP tank. Foley is in here, even though she doesn't exactly have a multi-hit. It can be cast, hit this, our ultimate up to 3 times. Kind of a multi-hit. So either in the Witch's Remains, she stays pretty consistent. Every once in a while she won't land it because she'll only get, you know, 1 shot and it not proc. But essentially she's just kind of like Erich. Then we have Thea. She's in here to replace Tonalyn. Purely DPS. I even let her run free because she has a turn meter increase based on wilds off of her passive. DPS, run wild. Now where it got weird, and I went off element here, is I used Gladros because he cast a shield. So again, this is that roll compression. He cast a shield on his ultimate, and any ally under this shield gains debuff immunity. So he will cast it on my front line. As you can tell, I'm doing front line targeting with the this ain't Auster, but with Auster's diamond shaped ultimate, I've got him to where he will land that attack on the front line instead of my back line. But there seems to be a weird interaction between Gladros' shields, and if they get broken on Horus, or he goes to apply his passive shield, I don't know, something weird, because without resistance, he'll get frost every once in a while, and it just doesn't work out. So don't get that. Checking out the last champion of the team, we just have Megan in here to add a little defense, a little healing, keep the team alive, and it pulls on 11 million. So, you know, if you're really free to play, or you're really struggling and you don't have, you know, amazing champions for this boss in your roster, Thea is a rare and does very good damage. Find you another wild champion. Erich would be better even than Foley. And yes, I call her Foley. I can't believe you guys changed her name. Oh, they changed her back. She was Raffe like not too long ago. That's crazy. Cool. Foley's back. So you got your damage couple here. Use anything, anybody. However, you can even use Inna. Inna would work perfectly as your block debuff or debuff cleanser. And then some sustain in your HP tank. It's not that hard. But that's about it for this video. If you found this helpful, or you found it just interesting on how I put these together, explain the boss, then make sure you drop the sub, follow, like, tell me a cool story down in the comments. I don't really care. Just interact with me, so that way YouTube puts my videos out there. I'm going to be creating plenty of these, and I want you guys to watch and enjoy. So till next time, happy grinding.